Okay, so yesterday I finished Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima, and I really liked this book. I'd read two of his other books, The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea and The Temple of the Golden Pavilion. He's a weirdo, for sure. And I think this book is probably his weirdest one, just because you get an insight into who he is. His other books are weird, but it's the characters that are weird. And I guess like him through it, but here he's just talking to you as himself. Um, so yeah, he's definitely it's like I was really set up to like this book because it's about like writing and about his thoughts on like body and mind and working out, and then even just like transcendence and our place in this world. So it really it's an interesting book, like even in format. It ends with this poem called Icarus, which is pretty moving, I would say. But anyways, there's a lot to talk about in this book, but I think what I want to center on is this idea that he focuses on, which is that there's sort of like an embodied knowledge that we have. So in the world of words and thought, like you can attain only so much, and then by training the body, he thinks there's this like different level of understanding that you can attain. And this has had me thinking about a lot recently the fact that athletes seem to have this like inherent understanding of this idea, and there's this whole like I'm thinking about, imagine like Conor McGregor, which is not a great example, but Conor McGregor on his come up talked a lot about like the law of attraction, and like if you can see it and you have the courage to speak it, then it will happen. And now Ilya Taporia talks about this a lot, like um, you know, he's a UFC athlete, but he like journals and like visualizes his victories and celebrates ahead of time because he's certain he's gonna win. Like they seem to have this like understanding, or like almost like a willingness to accept these things that maybe the rest of us struggle to accept, which are ideas that aren't necessarily rational, right? Which is like manifestation or the law of attraction, or things like that. Even the power of their own will, or the power of their self-belief. Um, and these athletes seem to like inherently understand that, and they seem to much quicker or much more free to accept these ideas that for the rest of us I think are more difficult. And my sort of theory slash hypothesis that I think this book backs up is that there's something there about the connection between the mind and the body. Who, Conor McGregor talks about like his whole journey of like freeing the body, and who else but athletes are in tune with their body. So there's something about that connection between mind and body and being in tune with your body that sort of endows you with this knowledge or this understanding of the things in life that are more difficult to grasp, or are not necessarily rational. And you can call that the spiritual or whatever. And so my takeaway, I guess, from this book, like I already work out and I like to run. I don't run enough, I think. But my takeaway is that I want to do more of that. I think I want to like lose myself in some form of like physical conquest. So whether that be like training more, to the point where I can run, like marathons more often. I've ran one, but I want to do more. I want to run a sub 3:30 marathon. I would eventually want to run like a Ironman or like ultra marathons, things like this, because I feel like I also want to learn a martial art, because running is cool, but there's something about, it's just like freeing the body. Like if you're so in tune with your body, I feel like what Mishima suggests is that there's like a knowledge that you gain, this sort of peace almost, like you're able to see things and understand things that you couldn't with just like intellectual reasoning and thought. And he gives a lot of reasons for this, which I won't go into. There's a plane passing. I don't know if you can hear that. I got this mic. Pretty cool, right? But it might still pick up the plane, so I'll let that pass. Anyways, yeah, so that was my main, like the main thing I want to take away from this book, sort of personally. I do think also it relates to the fact that, and Mishima talks about this, obviously Mishima was like a traditionalist, almost like he wanted Japan to go back to like a samurai era and away from like the westernization of Japan, especially for him seeing the transition after World War II. But I think something that he sort of touches on in all of this is the fact that in the modern day, these concepts of like these things that we can't explain, right? These ideas that are less rational, that are maybe more spiritual, more transcendent, they're not accepted really anymore. Like nowadays, everything is like explained scientifically, right? And like, obviously it maintains, like there's people who are into that, but it's kind of like a thing where you have to be into it. Like you have to be like a spiritual person, or, you know, do mushrooms or ayahuasca or whatever, like, or not even that, but just, it's like, oh, that person is that, or is spiritual or whatever. Which is a weird idea, because like obviously it's hard to accept that, like, you know, certain things, like it's hard to accept ideas as fact when they're like irrational, right? So imagine like if you believe in manifestation, like you have no proof that manifestation works, right? Like there's nothing apart from the rational explanation, which is that if you manifest, then you like have more belief in yourself, and so then you're gonna do better. But I'm talking about like the actual irrational form of like the law of attraction and whatnot. Like it's hard to believe in that because you have no rational proof of it. But also like we don't understand anything. Like what is this? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just interesting, I feel, that in the modern day, those ideas have been left behind. And I think what Mishima kind of, the value of this book in part is that Mishima suggests that you can find those things through the body. So if you are in tune with your body and you develop, you know, muscles, or you learn a martial art, or not even a martial art, but some sort of physical conquest that puts you in tune with the body, then you'll be able to grasp ideas that intellectually you might not be, and that also have maybe been left behind. Or that's the way he sees it, at least. But yeah, it's a good book. It's short. It took me a little long though, because it's just, there's parts that are a little, I'll have to read it again, you know. And then also he'll throw in like some insane moments, like you're kind of like following what he's saying, like, okay, body, mind, like, and then he's like, oh, also like I need to like be fit and hot because like I want to die a tragic death and I can't go out. Like you can't die like a tragic romantic death like if your body is frail, like it doesn't vibe. And he just throws that in. And like in the context of the fact that, 2 months after he wrote this, he stormed a military base and committed seppuku, which is this samurai form of like ritual suicide where they like grab a knife and slash their stomach. So he was in part training because he had this idea of this death, this like glorious death that he wanted for himself. And so having like a chiseled tan body was like part of that for him, which like fair enough, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, great book. I'm now moving on to the Brothers Karamazov, which will be fun. It's a lot longer, but I've been wanting to read that book for a while. And summer, I have like a month left before I go back to school. So I'm gonna make use of this time that I have to actually get through that. And I'll talk about it when I do. So thanks for watching.